Hello, class. I want to take a few minutes and explain some things regarding step number 9 and on through the rest of the guided practice for our uh, lesson 11, the cash flow budgeting exercise. And so I want to take a few minutes and go over some of these things. I found that there are some of the problems that we had in the previous semester that did not get corrected. And so I think we've got the need to give you some additional explanation. I'm sure there'll be many of you that will be having some problems with that. Okay, as we look at step number 9, this simply starts in after all of the various summations have been taken care of in the previous several steps. And so those summations now, I assume, is all I have already completed. But anyway, as we go through step number 9, and you'll notice here that we have 3 bullets here that says in cell A50, etc., and minimum balance and so on and so forth down through here. And then you see the screenshot. Okay, the screenshot. Basically, when you come up with this screenshot, one thing that has been left out, and that is this bullet right here that I have added in on the lesson plan. You'll note on your copy, if you've already gone through this already, that particular little bullet has been left out. And what that is simply saying is that when you get up here and you get to this particular point at the end here, where you're ready to insert your function, your if function, when you want to get your if in up here, then that just simply means you need to click go, and then you need to click OK, and that will carry you out of this into the next dialog box. Now, I will show you these things in just a minute on the actual lesson, on the actual cash flow budget. But in this next bullet, it says in the dialog box, type B34 less than $B $50 for the logical test box. And then it says enter $B $50 minus B34. Now this one is corrected. If you went through this had gone through this already before this evening, that will show a different symbol there. It will actually show this as B50 less than B34, and that is incorrect. There should be a minus sign in there so that you're subtracting B34 from the B50. Okay, so there are 2 corrections right there that undoubtedly will cause some problems for a few of you. Okay, and now coming on down through this, I want to point out a few other things, but let me go through the Excel file and we'll work through this to help you understand how to deal with that, deal with the if function. Okay, now going back into the step 9, and if we go down to the bottom where those bullets start, and if you see there it says in cell A50, type the required minimum monthly balance. Okay, I've already done that, required minimum monthly balance, and I presume that one will be easy for you to do. And then in cell B50, enter the minimum monthly balance required. And so right here then in B50, we need to enter $100, and that is the minimum balance required. Okay, and now we go ahead and click there, either press enter or click on another cell, and that will put that into place. Okay, now what we need to do is to go up to the top of the screen, and before we do that, we need to put our cursor in cell B36. Okay, we're going to click on cell B36, and then we go up to the top, and where we see the functions. I need to click on the function, and then right here we're looking for the if function, and so we'll just simply go ahead and type in if right there, and then this is where we need to have the that one bullet added. We're going to click on go, and then we'll click on OK, and that brings up this dialog box where we enter the actual functions. Now, in the bullet below that screenshot that shows the previous dialog box, we want to go ahead and put in the information for the logical test. And it says in that bullet, it says in the dialog box, type B34. So we'll go ahead and type in B34. And then we're going to type in the less than symbol. And then we're going to type in the B50. Now remember, this B50 needs to be set so that we're going to, when we address that, it's going to always stay on this box down here. So I need to press my F4, and that puts the dollar signs in. And now I need to go to the second line, and that one is where we need to put in the B50 again. And this time we're going to put in a minus sign, and then B34. And now again we need to click on the B50. Remember, we're referencing that value down here, that $100. We're referencing that, and that we need to focus and lock in on that. And so we need to press our F4 again, and then have our minus B34 here. Okay, now if we read on down through the line, and it explains what's happening here in the logical test. Let's see, let's read it above. Look here where it says first, it will check to see if the value in cell B34, okay, now here's our B column, and our B34 is this total cash available line, and we're going to check that and make sure that or determine whether it is greater than, equal to, or less than our $100 minimum amount. In this particular case, it's greater than, and so when we press our enter here, that should come up then with a, let's see, I messed up. Okay, the next step then is while we still have our dialog box up here, we need to put a 0 in on the third line, or in the third part of the dialog box. We'll have these values, each of these values in here, and then the bottom will be a 0. And that just simply says, okay, if this is not true, if this if statement up here is not true, up on the top line, we're going to simply put in the 0 and leave that, so it's essentially blank. It's either blank or there'll be a 0 show up in it. Okay, and so that's what we need to do. So once we finish entering those values, then we need to click OK, and we see our 0 shows up right here. Now with the 0 in B36 and that function, the if function in there, we can see what it looks like. notice that in February, column C, we only had $15 up here, and so that means that we had a deficit of $85. So when we compared the 15 to the $100 down here at the bottom, the required minimum balance, we found that we had a deficit of $85. And so our if statement then, our if function, brought back the value 85 in here as the amount that we're going to need to borrow in order for us to be able to keep our $100 minimum. Now when we go to March, we see an even greater deficit. Here, it wasn't even positive, it was a negative $389. And so when we compare that to our $100 minimum, that means that we're going to have to borrow an additional $489 in the month of March. And so then we go then to April, and in April we're still low, don't have enough cash coming in, and so as a result we have a deficit of $65. And so we have these 3 months, February, March, and April, where we have deficits. Now starting in May, where we're starting to sell our product and get the cash flow in, then we can see that our cash flow is high enough and getting higher all the way across, high enough that we don't have to borrow any more money. And so that's all that we need to borrow is for those 3 months. Now, the next part of this is going to be actually putting in the amount here on row 38, where we're paying back what we had borrowed. And we want to, if we can, it's always wise to any of the short-term borrowing like we have to do here. We always should do our very best to make sure that that's totally paid back by the end of the year, if at all possible. Okay, so we need to find out how much we're going to be able to pay back, and it gives us that information in this last bullet in that section. It says if any of the values in row 34 are greater than the minimum amount, a minimum $100, and the money has been borrowed in a previous month, Peter would be interested in using some of that excess cash available to pay a portion, if not all, of the borrowed money back. Okay, so anyway, it goes through and explains that, and it's simply saying, okay, Peter is going to have excess cash in the months of May through December, but he doesn't want to start paying the borrowed money back until June. And so we'll go here to June and find out for sure which one is June. June is going to be column G. And so we come back down here to column G, and in here we're going to put in $94. We'll drop down to that bottom section there, the $94 for June. And then July, we're going to pay back $540. And then and that goes into H38. And then we're going to go to August, and we only have $71 left to pay in August, and that goes into $538. Okay, and so that gives us then our total amount paying back. Now, please note over here that you have borrowed $639, but you're paying back $705. What is the difference? Think about that just a little bit, and then record that difference. That's basically something that we want to know about. How much difference is that going to be, and what is that amount, and what is that? Okay, now finishing up here on the guided practice, a couple more comments that I need to make to help you to be able to understand some of the problems that were carried over from the previous semester. If you look at this little screenshot, and I'm going to go back out to our lesson. If we look at this little screenshot, that shows up right here, This is simply showing the beginning cash balance, and on here it shows that as row 3. That is an error, and I've typed in, for those of you that still have this to do, I've typed in here a statement explaining that 3 actually should be 6 in order to be consistent with your cash flow budget. And so these rows are off by 3, and the reason they're off by 3, you can see if we go back out here to the file when you downloaded that file, the first 3 columns, or excuse me, the first 3 rows were taken up when this information here was put in place. And so when this information was put in, it pushed the rows all of the table down by 3 rows, and that's thrown off those values. So going back now then to our discussion here, that's what I've tried to explain in here. So when you do your check figures, and that's what we have here, are the check figures for row, in your case, row 6. These values up here says row 3 and row 37. That should be row. If I can find here, should be row 6 and row 40. Okay, row 6 and row 40. That's what these should be on. And then we find the same problem in this screenshot that gives all of the row totals all the way down. They're actually off by 1 or by 3 numbers. And so this one here should be 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth down the line. So hopefully that will help you a little bit to get this all straightened out. And thank you, I appreciate it.